Ocarina of Time is best described as the greatest game of all time because, like, statistically, that's what it is. So many people agree on this being the greatest game ever made, like better than Breath of the Wild or Red Dead Redemption or Plants vs. Zombies. I know, it's crazy. And for such a long time, I completely agreed. It was pretty much the first game I ever played, definitely the first Zelda game I played. I played it on my Nintendo 64 when I was like 5, and after my Mario 64 phase, I finally got around to finishing it, and I was just set on this being the best game ever. I was like, why wouldn't it be the best game ever? It's insane. So good. Amazing. It is amazing, right? The truth is that recently I've been starting to have my doubts about this game because I've played so many different games in my lifetime, and I've been looking back and wondering, do I still love this game as much as I ever did? Oh, voice crack, jeez. Why, amongst all of these games that are just insane and go past the limits of what I thought a game could even do, why do I think Ocarina of Time still holds up? Why do I love it so much?
This game should be bad by now. It should be dated and weird. Some of it is, at least that's what I was thinking at the time. There's a ton of huge video games for it to compete against. It's compared to all of these newer, really amazing games, and it makes me wonder if I personally still love it as much as I did when I was younger.
So is this game still good? And if so, what makes it good? Well, I went on a mission. I recently replayed Ocarina of Time, this time on my DS, so there wasn't really any nostalgia involved, and I really tried to take in everything about it. And I came to the conclusion that there are some things that Ocarina of Time has just always done best. Some things it's just done better. So while this game is definitely, in my eyes, not perfect, it is surprisingly a lot closer to perfect than most of the newer high-budget games I've played. So here's why. I want to start off with the gameplay, namely the combat, and I'm just gonna say it. Ocarina of Time has the most satisfying combat out of any game I've ever played, ever. There is no word to describe how fun it is, and I really don't see this aspect of the game talked about all that often. For one, the sword and shield mechanics are just so brilliantly put together. The jump slash, the crouch stab, just swinging the sword in general. There's not any crazy animations, it's just you fighting, and it feels epic. And it's not just your sword and shield though, there's different ways to fight. The items that are there to solve puzzles are also items you can fight with, like the hook shot or the Deku sticks. And Z targeting makes it really easy to use, but not too easy. It's right in the middle. It's satisfying, like I was saying. And the enemy variety is brilliant as well. There's so many unique enemies, and their designs are awesome, including the bosses. And the best part is they don't exploit the variety of enemies. Tears of the Kingdom. Like, what I mean is, if you see something cool, it's only there once or twice. It's not always forcing you to go, hey, that's cool. It's either cool or not cool. And if it's not, you get what I mean. But it's not just the way they look. It's also just in general the way they fight. The Wazolfos will swing at you with their claws and then shield. The Poes will attack you with their lantern by spinning and then turning invisible. The skeletons will get knocked down and then get back up again if you wait too long. All of them test your capability in combat. They all see what you can do with your skills. And the bosses will do the exact same thing. Phantom Ganon will play tennis with you and then fake you out in the paintings. You have to use the Lens of Truth on Bongo Bongo while he plays drums, which is also the ground. That part's pretty epic. And lastly, the fighting in general is just so satisfying. The way the enemies flash when you hit them and the sound they make. I could go on and on about how cool this combat is and how expertly it was put together. In my opinion, there is yet to be a game that has done combat quite as good as Ocarina of Time. It's just amazing. The next thing that I think goes perfectly alongside with the gameplay is the exploration, because although in retrospective this game doesn't really seem to have all that much you can do, the intense feelings of accomplishment and fulfillment in every little thing you do is crazy. Because this world, in my opinion, and I don't actually know how popular this opinion is, but the exploration is so good that I think it's actually better than the kind of exploration Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom had.
Because the world obviously isn't huge, but that doesn't matter because everything you do in it is extremely exciting.
Everywhere you go has some kind of meaning or potential. But at the same time, none of it is in your face. It's up to you to search farther. You have to think a certain way. And if you don't really care, you don't have to worry about it. Nobody's telling you to do anything. I don't think any other game has really exceeded the feeling of excitement the exploration in this game had. I can't describe how great it feels when you get a new piece of heart or a new ability. It's just amazing. It's not just the first time around either. It never fails to be exciting no matter how many times I play it, and I don't really know why, but it does it incredibly. Here's a new transition, guys. Something that makes exploring so exciting is discovering new atmospheres. Ocarina of Time's atmosphere is insane just because there's so much variety within it, and in that variety, it's capable of telling so many different stories. The way that it makes you go through so many different mood swings is one of my favorite aspects about it. Even just the beginning of the game when you go from Kokiri Forest to the Deku Tree, it gives you the background on what's going on just by having you look around. And it does this everywhere. The different feelings you get by going from place to place. It tells you what it's like and why it's there and what its purpose is. And it's just the atmosphere. It's just by looking around, it's incredible. And I think the way the atmosphere is honestly all thanks to one thing, and that's the music. The music creates the atmosphere in every scenario. It's what's responsible for the vibe of every place you go to. For instance, let's take a minute to appreciate when you first walk into the Deku Tree. or when you go into Kakariko Village for the first time. Above everything else, the music is what gives the game color. You wouldn't feel the same way you did about any location in the game if there was no music, or if there was even different music. And the most impressive part about all of it is that it's kind of only made with like a synthesizer, but it manages to have so much crazy variety and different feelings. It's very powerful despite it being so small, and it creates the atmosphere almost single-handedly. This is definitely one of the most impressive video game soundtracks I've heard, and it will remain timeless in my mind. All of it is so creative and resourceful, and I love it. And lastly, the gentle messages you get from the game will always make it worthwhile.
The overarching but subtle theme of what it's like growing up is something that nobody doesn't want to hear, including me.
It tells me that this game isn't just a video game, and that's why I love the Zelda series so much. You're never really gonna play a Zelda game that's just there for the sake of being a Zelda game. Tears of the Kingdom. Okay, that was harsh, I admit. Every Zelda game teaches me something, or reminds me of something, or helps me get through something, and Ocarina of Time is no exception. So I think I figured out why Ocarina of Time will always be good now. Everything about it is timeless, even if it's dated, even if it's weird, even if it doesn't really make sense or is confusing. This game will last a long time. I mean, you're still watching this video like 27 years later. That's pretty huge. I mean, when was the last time you thought about like Halo 3? Okay, that's actually a really good game. I should go play that. Okay, I'm gonna go play Halo 3. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this sort of short video. Click here to watch a video where I talk about how Majora's Mask is like looking at a painting. And don't forget to subscribe because you were definitely thinking about it. I don't know.